Okay, good evening and welcome to the March 11th Palmer Town Council meeting. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda is visitors' comments for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Come on, ask you to come forward and give your name and address, please, to this microphone.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alan Marks, and I'm part of the ownership group at Forest Lake Cottages off of River Street. And I'll keep my remarks very brief. I just wanted to introduce myself to the council and say that we would love to be able to collaborate on a solution to the water issue from Vaughnsville coming down to Jim Ash Street and then on to River Street. And I know there's a lot of complexity there. What I wanted to point out is that we have 216 cottages approved by all of the town boards and councils. The only thing that we need is water. And we believe with the 216 cottages, an average sale price of high 300s, close to $400,000, we could generate close to 1.5 million in tax revenue to the town of Palmer annually, and no impact on schools. It's a seasonal cottage resort, so kids would not be in the school system, all private roads. So very, very little impact on town costs, but a lot of town revenue. And we just wanted to introduce ourselves and say that we would love to collaborate with the council, with Water Commission, with concerned citizens, and see how we can find a solution to that.
Thank you. So I know you've been in touch with Mr. Reed, as you know, or maybe someone else from your group, but as you know, we're kind of in transition between Bob's an interim town manager, and we're in the process of hiring a permanent manager. So that will be definitely something that will be on the list of things for our new town manager to do when he comes aboard, which will be in April. Okay?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that all right? What's the average bedroom setup are they going to have in each cottage? How many bedrooms?
2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Two bedrooms, 2 baths, about 1,300 to 1,400 square feet.
Yeah.
And we did one up in Maine, and I'm not going to talk about that because I know you have a lot to get to, but we are generating that kind of tax revenue for the town of Arundel, which is next to Kennebunkport in Maine. And just so you know that we're legitimate, we won a National Association of Home Builders Award for that project. And we would love to share more with the council when the time is appropriate.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Oh.
I'm Steve Kosmeter. I live in Thorndike, and I'd like to discuss Thorndike Grammar School again. I've been trying to get access to the building just to scope it out, and I seem to be getting stonewalled at every turn. First of all, I needed a waiver to get in. Next, I'm told I need hard hat and glasses, and I don't get it. You know, do people vote on this, or is it the chair's decision? Whose decision is this?
Go ahead.
I can address it.
Well, first we needed the waiver just for liability issues, and the two of us had extensive discussions about that. I think what's happened now is that the council wants to go forward and get a request for bids, which I'm working on, and so that sort of obviates the need for a walkthrough. When I did go through there with the building inspector and the DPW director, they reminded me of additional safety items which caused the request or asking you about the hard hat and so forth. But at this point, I think we're on the verge of moving forward and putting it out to bid, so I don't know if there's really a need for a tour. And I'm the one who stonewalled.
Are the taxpayers in Thorndike going to have the courtesy of being involved in what's going to go into that building, if anything? If it's getting demolished? Anybody?
We don't have any bids yet. We don't have any RFPs or,
I know, but are there going to be any stipulations made before the bids go out as to,
I don't think we've even discussed that yet.
Huh?
We haven't even discussed that yet.
is it going to be discussed?
We're selling a building. We usually go into executive session to talk about that.
Again, so it's going to be the decision of you 7 people here of what's going to determine the fate of that building?
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead, Bob.
I think that one thing that we're waiting to hear about from one of the interested parties is whether that building can even be saved. There's a certain cost that's going to be involved in demolishing it, and there's another cost if you want to save it. And when we went through it, I mean, there's asbestos, there's just everything there. So I think we need to hear from one of the interested parties and whether or not that building is even savable. I think at this point, with the amount of time that that's just been sitting there, at least to my mind, I think the most attractive option is to simply sell it. And I understand that at least 2 housing units can be put there and to get it back on the tax rolls. So if it was going to be saved, I don't know what it could be saved for and whether that's even economically feasible.
And my next question is, a couple of weeks ago when you had the town manager people here, Matt had mentioned something about open meetings. And I have yet to see an open meeting, like a town hall meeting.
This is an open meeting right now.
Pardon?
This is an open meeting right now.
I'm talking about,
The forum style that we do.
That's
Yeah, we
correct.
did it before COVID. We did them, and then I said I think we should bring them back. Yes.
yes.
Yep.
Is that a possibility?
Oh, yeah, we definitely will. But again, we're in transition right now. It's helpful when you have a permanent town manager on board that can hear the issues that are brought forward by the residents and also is there for support as to where things stand. Again, Bob's doing a great job, but he's an interim at this point in time. So his job is to not necessarily move everything forward, but just to keep us afloat, and so that's where we are. But yes, we will get back to that.
All right. Another thing I'm concerned about, it's pothole season, and I've been running around town, and there's plenty of potholes, and I haven't seen a highway department truck anywhere.
In their defense, I have seen them out and about.
Huh?
I have seen them out and about.
I haven't seen them around Thorndike or
I
Bonzo.
have also. If you find some, just go down there and talk to him. That's what we did, and he fixed it.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
you do, if there's a large pothole that you come across, you absolutely should give them a call so that they're aware that they can't be everywhere. So, and I'm sure they'll get to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing no one else? Okay. I'm going to skip around on the agenda a little bit tonight, if that's okay with everybody. So the first item will be Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home Proclamation. Mark, if you would do the honors.
Sure. Proclamation, resolution, and recognition of Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. Whereas March 29th, 2024 was established by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to recognize the veterans of the Vietnam War. And whereas on this day we honor all Vietnam and Vietnam-era veterans for their courage and their loyalty to their country during turbulent times. And whereas we honor those who were prisoners of war, those still missing in action, and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, the laying down of their lives to preserve freedom throughout the world. Whereas we acknowledge those Vietnam veterans who still suffer the remnants of war, be it physically or psychologically, and we offer our support as they continue to fight their personal inner war. And whereas the Vietnam veterans of war deserve our gratitude and respect for the time, effort, and dedication that they have been given to the service of their country, and on this day of remembrance, may we never forget men and women who gave them so much. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Palmer Town Council salutes our Vietnam veterans and those who have passed, commemorates the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day, and hopes that all citizens of the Town of Palmer remember and respect the sacrifices made by those who fought to preserve our way of life.
So, were you?
No.
Okay. I see Billy Burns is here with us tonight. Billy, is anybody else with you? Okay, do you want to come forward and get the proclamation? And thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
I'd like to say just one thing, real quick. One of the best welcome homes I ever had since I came from Vietnam was at the school when they have it on Veterans Day. It really made me feel seeing these kids up there. Really, it hit right here. Really. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's also nice to see you up and about, Billy. I'm glad you're doing better.
Just put the cane down.
Well, you look good.
Thank you.
So do you, Gloria. Okay, next item on the agenda is Matt Francis, the Superintendent of Schools. This is a fiscal 25 preliminary Palmer Public Schools budget presentation. So just before you get started, I just want everyone to understand that this is, this step is part of what's required under the town's charter, which is a presentation of the school budget with the council and school committee members that are here. There'll be no decisions made at tonight's meeting. Every budget will be referred to the budget subcommittee. We will look at all the budget documents that have been presented, and then the budget subcommittee, who is myself, Jessica, and Mark, will then make a recommendation back to the full council for a vote later in June, just so everyone knows. So there really won't be a lot of discussion back and forth tonight, unless there's something technical in nature, but no decisions will be made, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. On behalf of the Palmer School Committee, I want to thank the council for the invitation to present this evening. I provided documentation to you prior to tonight, and the presentation that I'll go through is kind of an overview of the documents that you were presented. Tonight's agenda, I'll take you through the budget process timeline that started back in July. Impacts and priorities to the budget process. I'll go through the FY25 prelim budget, and if there's any questions at the end, I will entertain those. Back in July, when I took the appointment in July 1st, I began looking at FY24 in addition to FY23 to look and analyze how the district had done the budget process in the past and what we would refine and or perfect going into FY25. Also in July, I began monthly meetings with the town manager. At the time, those continue with interim town manager Mr. Reed to this point as well. In September, I had the opportunity with the retirement of my executive assistant to alter the position into a grants manager executive assistant, which helps with the budgeting process, the managing of our federal grants, as well as applying for any competitive grants that are out there. With the change in the town manager position, I met with the town council chair and interim Mr. Reed back in November to begin the process. In December, I started working with Ms. Menard, the business manager for the school district, and we began meeting with all the different departments within the school district. That carried through January and into February, multiple meetings in providing the FY25 budget that you will see. The dates in the remaining were tentative based off of when we were going to hold this meeting as well. If need be, we will hold finance subcommittee meetings, and my hope to have an approved school budget voted on by the school committee in April. These are tentative, and this is kind of a wish to do this so soon. Understandably, we're still waiting on figures to come in. The next part is budget impacts and priorities going into FY25. And the first one we have to look at is the decreased enrollment within the school department. We are down slightly as compared to FY24. Interestingly enough, the year following COVID, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts saw 40,000 less students across the state. In the past 3 years, the Pioneer Valley has still lost 2,500 students across all the districts in the Pioneer Valley. So this is just not a issue within Palmer. It's many districts across the Commonwealth. Upcoming contract negotiations, we are sending our transportation. This is for our busing that goes out to bid. We had a 3-year bid with JP McCarthy. And then we extended it for 1-year extensions after that, so we are going out for a new transportation bid. We are currently in contract negotiations with our paraprofessionals. That is up this year. Next month, a MOU will go to the school committee for our custodians and maintenance. That's a 1-year extension to their contract. It's just going to be a monetary agreement for a 1-year extension. Nurses' contract is also up this year. And then any individual that doesn't fall into a contract, they will be up for a salary increase or adjustment as well. All told, you're looking at roughly $950,000 when you take all of those into consideration, and we've had to prep for that with going into FY25. 3 and 4, I'm extremely excited to talk about. Those are 2 new programs that we are initiating in FY25. The first one is the Business and Finance Pathway at the high school. This is similar to like a CTE vocational program, but it's for a non-CTE, what they call a pathway. My hope is eventually we will get DESE approved to turn it into an innovation pathway. Our first cohort will be next year's freshmen, and they will take a series of classes. So upon graduation, they will graduate with a, for lack of better terms, an expertise in either business or finance so that they can carry on if they are going into the career field right after school, or if they're going to continue with their studies in the business or marketing finance world in college and career. This is the first time we are offering this in Palmer, so this is something that we have to take in consideration when building FY25. In addition, expansion of PK. Now, and if I can go back, number 3 and 4 also are aligned with our Student Opportunity Act plan that will be voted on in March as well. So these are 2 components of that. Expansion of PK is also within our SOA plan. Right now, we offer 3 classrooms that are half-day AM or PM slots. They are 2 hours in length per session of preschool, and they are for cost, which I think for our community is we need to expand. We are going into FY25 removing all costs, so we are offering free preschool, prioritizing 4-year-olds. We are looking at offering 2 full-day classrooms, primarily for 4-year-olds. And then we're offering a 3rd classroom, which is a hybrid full-day for 4-year-olds, and then an AM that might go into a PM for our older 3-year-olds. And then the 4th classroom will be the traditional AM or PM half-day selection. And I'll get into why we are taking away the cost a little longer. But we did a couple different surveys of our families in the early fall and then again in early winter, asking about their preschool experience. And there is a need across the community for preschool expansion to assist within our community, as well as taking away the cost for it. This will help us in FY26. Every full day preschool student that we have enrolled in the district that does not pay tuition will help towards our Chapter 70 funding, which they currently do not because we charge a tuition for them. Expanded partnerships with town departments. and I'll go back to August. In August, we kicked off the theme of Why Palmer, and there's a couple individuals that are wearing our Why Palmer T-shirt. And this was not necessarily Why Palmer schools, but it was Why Palmer. And I talked about it when I was interviewed for the superintendent. The schools are the heartbeat of the community, and yet we have to help one another. And the Why Palmer is, why should families move to Palmer? Why should those individuals that graduate from the high school return to Palmer, and why should individuals retire to Palmer? And one of the missions I had in taking over in July was to utilize the town departments so that we can have a cohesive goal to that Why Palmer theme throughout the school year. In August, I was approached by a family or a group, parent group, about Converse Middle School and the issues with the gymnasium that they were preparing to begin practice in. I quickly called the DPW the very next day. The director of facilities, myself, and Matt Morse, the director of DPW, met down at Converse to assess the gym prior to the Palmer Youth Basketball Association going into there. After 2 weeks' time, the school district purchased and replaced the mats on both sides of the gym for the Palmer Youth. We spent 2 weeks replacing those mats, upgrading the spectator seating, as well as replacing both the benches for the home team and away team. I've met with Mr. Morse multiple times throughout the school year thus far on different projects. In January, the school department took over the payroll for the entire town. This was not a benefit to the school district, but I saw the need and how we could partner with the town to make it a better partnership. And we took over the entire payroll for the town of Palmer. We have roughly 240 employees to the town's 120, and yet we took over the payroll. I also am in conversations with the director of Council of Aging in bringing opening up the pool at the high school for free swim for our seniors, as well as potentially providing meals for the seniors where Pathfinder cannot provide meals, where our food service might be able to provide meals for the Council of Aging. In addition to meeting with the director of the library on multiple occasions on sharing different projects and partnering up on different initiatives as well. Am I going too fast for you, Marlene? I can slow down. I'm sorry.
You're doing your overview.
Okay. So I'm excited to continue these partnerships for the betterment of the entire town, not just the school system. In addition, we are in conversations with Ware Public Schools and partnering with them and HCC. This will go with our Business and Finance Pathways program in offering early college coursework on-site and or remote with HCC. Grade 6 location is going to be another budget impact and a priority. I'd heard about this early on in my interview process. Grade 6 is relocating to Old Mill Pond in FY25. They're being pulled out of the high school and going to Old Mill Pond. ESSER 3 funding in September 2024. $802,000 were committed to FY24. So we have to plan accordingly because that ESSER funding goes away. Every individual, every salary that was committed in ESSER 3 as of July was moved to another grant, so we have no salaries that are committed. But we also have to take into account the $802,000 that were committed to FY24 will not be around for FY25. Increased percent of low income. This goes back to the first point that I made in regarding the decreased enrollment. Our current low income percentage is roughly 61% as of today. Pre-pandemic, it was at 39.1%. So within 5 years' time, our students and our population has gotten 20% more in free and reduced lunch. And this takes on a lot more needs come with students when they fall within low income. Number 10, additional diverse enrichment opportunities. This goes along with my SOA plan as well. That'll get voted in March. We are looking to offer more electives at the high school and bring more unified arts at the elementary school. Some of this will go into the business and finance pathway, other different electives at the high school as well. At the elementary level, we are looking at addition of computers, computer coding, and or introducing instrument and instrumental music at the elementary. Maintaining a high level of services is a priority in regards to students with disabilities, multilingual students, or general education students. The FY25 budget that we are presenting this evening does have a reduction in FTE, full-time educators, but as of right now, we do not have an individual that will be losing a job due to budget cuts. So I'll say that again. We are reducing our FTEs, and we're doing this by retirements and resignations, but we will not be cutting due to budget cuts, which is important. And the last thing is number 12, begin to address areas of growth. In February, I presented my report of entry findings to the school committee, and I discussed a couple areas of growth. FY25, we start to address those areas of growth, and I'll get into it when we go through the next couple of slides. This first overview, this was in your packet. It's a condensed way of presenting the budget as it's compared to FY23-24, our proposed FY25. And you can see in the proposed FY25, $19,733,469. You carry then over to the second to last column, total grants and revolving. Those are your entitlement grants, Title I, Title II, Title IV, IDEA, which is broken up into your two special ed grants, 240 and 262. And the revolving account, which is preschool right now. We do have some money in our preschool revolving account. So we will be using some of that to offset the budget. That second to last row are our sources, and those sources is the town contribution in FY23, FY24, the proposed FY25 at $18,404,731, which is a 4.5% increase from the year before. That $2,051,026 is it going to be a circuit breaker and school choice money, which gives us a total budget of $20,455,757. I added this slide. This is not in your packet, but I thought it was important to share. It is an FY22 to 23, and then a 23 to 24, and then a 24 to 25. So it gives you the dollar amount change going between those years, and then the percent overall change. So in FY20, going from FY22 to 23, it was $1,002,000 with a 6.6% change. From FY23 to 24, just under $500,000, a little over $400,000 at 2.1%. And our overall district expenses from 24 to 25 is under $100,000, coming in at $91,589, which is a 0.4% increase from FY24 to 25. Keep in mind that is with those contract negotiations of $950,000 and ESSER going away at $802,000. So I think that's fairly impressive when you take on $1.7 million deficit going into FY2025 and only having to increase the overall expenses by 0.4%. Going into the district salaries, I'm not going to hit every point. I can take questions if there are questions. I'll just hit on some of the highlights going through the district salaries. You see in the finance human resources, there is one new hire. This goes back to the areas of growth that I was talking about. In my report of entry findings, I discussed how our HR department within the school department that oversees roughly 240 employees is held in by one individual. That individual does all the onboarding, does all the FMLA, all the retirement, all the benefits, does investigations, talks to legal. 240 employees with one individual. So an area of improvement is to add an admin assistant. So that's where you see that 19.3% increase. Student services, you see a decrease of 17.7. That was an individual that resigned over the summer that was being paid on ESSER. And because ESSER was going away, I felt it was not important to fill that position, so we're not carrying that position going into FY25. Transportation and crossing guards, you see a large increase. That is due to crossing guards. Going into FY24, we did not have any crossing guards. Many of you might have heard that the first day of school I was out crossing because of the Main Street down at the entrance of our campus. If you've ever been there at arrival or dismissal, not to have a crossing guard there is just an accident waiting to happen. So we've added 3 crossing guards, as well as adding every bus that we have within the school system a bus monitor on it for an AM and PM run. So that's where you see that 134% increase on that transportation line. Facilities has gone down. We had a resignation over this year of one of our custodians, and the director of facilities, Anthony Granger, feels that he can continue his level of service without that. So you see a negative 8.1. Technology is a new hire. That was another area of growth that I discussed in the report of entry finding. With everything that goes on throughout the district in regards to curriculum, assessment, instruction, and technology, our technology department is 2 individuals, so we are looking to add another individual, an IT individual, so that's where you see that 23.4% increase. The site budget in regards to the expenses, you'll see a decent amount of negatives within here, and that is we are planning on pre-buying things that we can pre-buy to use remaining ESSER funds to go into FY25. As much as we can lock into a multi-year agreement in regards to our instruction or curriculum and materials, we are doing that as well to secure those funds and those materials until FY27. You can see the security expenditures at a minus 26%. That is the pre-purchasing of cameras throughout campus in both buildings. Another one is facilities expenditures at a minus almost 22%. We are pre-buying a year's supply of all of our paper materials, all of our air filtration, our air filters, anything that we can buy and store appropriately ahead of time, we are doing so. Technology expenditures are the same. We are pre-buying all of our Chromebooks, all of our smart panels. By the end of this year, we will have 100% smart panels throughout the district. Every classroom will have one for our instruction at both levels, at OMP and at the high school. Moving on to OMP within salaries. So you're going to see a shift here at OMP in regards to salaries. Now, remember the earlier point that I made in regarding grade 6 leaving the high school and coming down to OMP, you're going to see some salary shifts. So you're going to see some materials shifting as well. So that's going to take into consideration some of the pluses of why we're increasing at OMP. And when I switch over to PHS, you'll see a decrease in PHS. Going into OMP, the site budget, you can see a negative 21.8 in the principal expenditures. I just caution that is a low figure of 3,000 when you compare FY24 to 25, but it's a large hit on the overall percentage. Instructional materials, you see almost a negative 20%, and that is because we are pre-buying our instructional materials, like I had already stated, locking in 3-year quotes where we can and where it is appropriate. The high school, you'll see a little bit more negative across the salaries and as well as in the site budget. This is because there is a shifting of personnel and or personnel that are not going to be filled due to retirements or resignation. So that's where you see the negatives in regarding the salary piece. And the large negatives at the site budget as well. So you are pretty much down in every category within the expenses at Palmer High because we are pre-buying and or shifting resources to OMP to account for grade 6 being at OMP. I know I went pretty quickly but I'm open to questions that you have that I can answer at this time.
Yeah.
How much revenue did the schools lose by going free pre-K?
Not a lot. You're looking at roughly, I think it's like $30,000. It's the amount to pay for a paraprofessional.
Okay.
And to my point, in FY26, for every 2 preschool students is equal to 1 K through 12 student when it comes back to Chapter 70 funds.
Okay. I have more.
Okay.
You want me to
Okay.
just keep going? All right. Bus monitors.
Yes.
Is there an area of concern on the buses? Is that why we're paying for bus
It's
monitors?
an
now?
overall, yeah. It's an overall safe. It's to address day-to-day safety and supervision,
Okay. And
specifically at OMP. But the middle and high school, we in the budget we put 1 for every bus.
And then I'm going to throw this out here, and I know that other counselors are going to jump on me for it, but in your budget, you were talking about cameras and other technology expenses, which sound to me as capital expenses. They could be pulled out of your budget and used as a capital expense for free cash, like putting cameras in. So, like, there are ways to improve by pulling that. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that you're trying to do it in your budget. But obviously, with all the talk, with budget talk, and you know how tight the numbers are, especially with the town side and on the school side, that any way we can offset any of the expenditures would be great if we can pull things out of the budget and make them one-time capital expenses versus going through the budget and creating issues out of the general fund.
And the large majority of these, and to your point, the large majority of them are not coming out of the general fund. The large majority of our needs in regards to technology and cameras are going to be spent using ESSER 3 funds, which they are allowable under ESSER 3. That's a one-time cost that I need to that goes away in September of 24. I'm using, in addition to the cameras and the technology you talked about, we're using ESSER 3 for capital improvements as well that I'm not submitting to the town to consider.
But we will have a wish list for you
do.
from the. Or we do have a wish list already for capital.
Yes,
Okay.
you do.
Right.
I'm a member on the committee,
All right.
so I made sure that there was going to be things that were going to
No,
be
that's
on
fine.
it. Yeah.
I just, as being
Those
a part
are-
of the budget subcommittee
Yep.
for years, that we usually
And
have
those
a wish list.
Those
so.
are larger things that need a larger expense that I can't do out of general funds. They would take forever. But I also have to I recognize that the use of ESSER 3 funds, which are allowable, that I can help by taking some of those capital expenditures off. One of the capital expenditures, since we're talking about it, if you don't mind me expanding upon, Palmer High 4th floor over the summer is getting all new ventilation and heating through mini splits at the cost of roughly $600,000. When you do rebates and all that other stuff, the out-of-pocket expense is not a large expense, but that's something that's very needed that I can do using ESSER 3 funds that then I don't have to submit to the town.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
What's the what did we see as the school choice coming in, school choice going out?
School choice, and we can talk about all students that are lost because I'd be happy to talk about that. But specifically, school choice. So this year we increased by 5, which
Inbound?
from 8 to 5 to 13. So we increased it by those 5 that I said. It is going to a vote so that whether or not we will participate in the FY25 that's on the agenda for this month's school committee. Our school choice going out, and I'm not shying away. I actually talked about it in my interview back in February and March. And to your point, we have too many students, not just school choice, but we have too many students that are going out. When you add in students that we are losing to charter school, students that we are losing to homeschool, private and parochial school, as well as Pathfinder vocational. We are leaving about $7 million on the table of all students that are leaving the district. So we are working to repair that. We are working to change the narrative of Palmer Public Schools and the entire community as a whole. But when you lose roughly $750,000 for school choice going out, and you're only gaining 13 coming in, but we've allowed, the school district has allowed other people to say our narrative and to speak our narrative for us, and we're looking to rectify that through all our means. Because there's a lot of good things that are happening within the district, and they will continue to happen going into FY25. And I think getting that word out, I think will help bringing back students that are charter, bringing back students that are electing homeschool, virtual school, and the like. One of the first things that I did in the summer was I sent letters out to families that are Palmer residents that are attending charter schools to ask them why, and using that information to reflect upon and make decisions on. Every student that leaves and withdraws from the district as well, we have a withdrawal survey that is sent to them to ask them why. Is it regards to the family moving, or is it by choice? And if it's by choice, what is that choice? Because we have to address it. We have to address the exodus of students that are leaving Palmer.
And the choice ones, what's the main reason they're giving you?
School choice.
Yeah, if
School
they're
choice.
leaving and not
And it's I think it's the narrative of what these other towns have or are presenting that they have that Palmer does not. It is not they aren't better school systems, in my opinion. When you look at the percentile in the percentile is how DESE ranks the different schools. When you look at the percentile, we do much better than our area schools. But I think it's that narrative. I think it's that myth that these other neighboring districts where we lose students to school choice.
What are they saying? Why?
Number one
Are they
reason.
looking
Yeah,
for?
What was
it's
the number one reason?
It's
I'm
that either they have more offerings
Like-
at the high school level, more
Sports
electives.
or-
Some of it is sports. Yep, some of it is
prep
sports as well.
classes or something like
Yep.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have another one. I watched the last school committee, when you had your presentation.
Yeah.
And there was a very high percentage of special needs in town, right? Special needs students.
We're just around 20%, so we're at the state average.
So when I'm looking at your budget, there's a lot of negative percentages on SPED, paras. Is that just is that a shift from high school down to
Correct. We are not.
Pond, or-
Yeah, we're not. We are not laying off or losing special education. There is a shift. Some of those are being shifted onto grants that were previously on ESSER funds. That was another group that were moved off of ESSER when we had the opportunity to move them off of ESSER and get them onto another grant.
Do you feel like it's enough support coming into the next couple of years with the increased amount of kids that need support, additional support?
Well,
A lot of
if
non-traditional.
if you would give me more support, and if you're offering more than 4.5%
You got to get support
increase,
too. So.
if you're on, I think for a small, and I talked about this in my presentation to the school committee. In a small district, the level of services that we have for our special education, many districts have to send out a lot of their students that have very needy special needs. I'm amazed, and when I came into the district, I'm amazed in how many different services we have for our special education. Could we use more? I'll take more. One thing that we're looking at, just not from special education piece of it, but from a general ed piece. So we went up from FY24 to 25. Our Title I entitlement went up, I don't want to say considerably, a decent amount. If that trend continues, I look to supplement using Title I funds to increase paraprofessional more in the general education classrooms at our lowest level in kindergarten, first and second. But from FY 24 to 25, we saw about roughly $120,000 increase in Title I. That was predominantly used for after-school enrichment programs, summer enrichment programs. We're having a summer Title I summer school offered this year, which we haven't offered in quite some time. Title I after school, both at the elementary and middle and high this year, which we haven't had. So, to your point, I think it's adequate for in regards to special ed. We could always use more. The needs of the students, not just in academic and special ed, but the social emotional needs have increased since the pandemic. So we could use more. But I think it's especially in tight fiscal times, it's about using your money wisely.
I'd just like to piggyback on the special eds, and you're saying the need for more money. I think it behooves everyone, the council and the school districts. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the state probably isn't funding and helping the way they should be. I mean, with the COVID and how they closed everything down and what they expect of everybody. I know you're saying you'd love to have more.
Would you like me to address your concern or no?
Yeah,
I have an opinion,
I'm just
but
saying,
I don't know if this is...
my personal feeling all the time is that the state wants you to do certain things, but they never chip in their fair share.
And I think when they did SOA, right, and SOA was supposed to, the Student Opportunity Act was a fix on the Chapter 70 funding. And using a different algorithm to address the underfunding that they had done for quite some time. And I think they are learning very quickly that Student Opportunity Act is not the solution because it is not addressing the medium to smaller districts as it is, the urban districts. And I think they're starting to see that. Whether or not that will come in my time, and in the next 8 years, it's a hope. But I think they're recognizing that SOA is not the solution for the continued underfunding of the school districts across the Commonwealth.
This is just a statement. I asked before when they were doing the budget, the senator and Mr. Smola that came in here. I asked, are they going to contribute more to mental illness? Because since they shut a lot of things down, this world's gone wild. Not just here. And then the senator gave me an answer, that's a good question. But they're going to beat around the bush on that one. And then when the budget came out, they didn't fund what I thought they should have. And there's disruption. I just wish they give you more money for that. And I'll advocate that as much as I can to those guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. So was there any recurring costs that were supplemented by ESSER funds that are not being transitioned into another grant and are built into this budget?
In regards to ESSER?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
So a few questions. So you discussed the reduction of FTEs. I was just wondering how many are we talking about? You said retirements and resignations.
And not all the retirements are public. So you're looking.
I'm not asking specifics, but like
Numbers,
just
not names.
Are you not able to say that yet?
You're looking at 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Okay. And then.
And some of those may have already occurred in FY24 that we didn't, that won't hit FY25, so we've already removed them.
Okay. Pre-buying. Good, but it can be bad. Because, yep. So how much money are we talking that you're going to be spending in pre-buying?
In regards to curriculum and materials,
Just in total, because you said that a lot of the negatives that we see are pre-buying.
Correct.
So that's gonna then, great for next year, but then if that money's ESSER money, that's not gonna be,
2027 is when the chickens will come home to roost.
The cliff?
The proverbial.
Yeah,
Could
the
be.
cliff.
It could be, but there are a lot of things that are going to change by FY27. The hope is, and with the expansion of preschool, you'll see Chapter 70s that will increase because student enrollment. When you start to by FY27, you will have a couple years of the business pathway. Business and finance pathway at the high school going. You will have the partnership with HCC and early college. So my hope is that enrollment will then shift as well.
okay, but just let's pretend it doesn't. So how many dollars are we pre-buying?
Enough.
I know, enough, but I'm trying to figure out, so when that hits, if everything doesn't align, what's the hole that we're potentially?
Well, if you take away the ESSER of 802,000, right?
Yeah,
And then you take the 950,000 recommend or potential negotiations. That's 1.7 million. Now I'm asking for 800,000, almost 800,000 as an increase as compared to last year.
that's your budget increase.
Correct.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about, or maybe.
I understand what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you answer me, or?
I did not. No. Because we're still pre-buying.
But you must have a dollar amount that is, so is it the 800,000?
Roughly.
Okay.
Is there a cost for us to participate with like HCC and such?
There's going to
To
be.
the
Yep,
district?
there's going to be.
Does that get passed on to the student or no?
Right now is in dual enrollment. It
Dual
does,
enrollment, right,
but when we start offering the early college courses, we're looking that it will be at no cost.
So one of the things when we met over the summer, or whenever that was, I had mentioned to you about the Medicaid reimbursement,
Yep.
and I felt it was maybe low.
Yep.
Were you able to look into that at all?
Yeah, Ms. Menard, would you like to?
Sure, I'd love to. So I did look into the Medicaid reimbursement, and right now we are getting the maximum amount that we can. What did happen is that right around when COVID hit, there was a change in the calculation across the state, and everybody across the state saw a decrease in that. And we were just like them. And then what has happened is that, we're trying to put in as many things as we possibly can that would qualify, and we have started to see an increase, which also matches the trend across the state. And so right now we're getting as much as we possibly can from it.
Good. And then as far as the HVAC that you're doing on the third floor, great. But are you working with the town planner at all to see if there's like any rebates through green communities?
The project right now is a rebate through National Grid, which we're getting a substantial rebate.
Through Mass Save.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, I don't want to be like, I don't want anyone to walk away from here like, I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm very supportive of the schools. But I think that we just have to have a little bit of reality that $700,000 ask probably is not going to be 100% doable. And the reason why is just really the numbers, right? So if you add in the 2.5% increase, some new growth, local receipts that are really, really flat, and state aid numbers that are pretty flat, that's just about all our new money for next year. Are you aware of that?
What's your question?
My question is, are you aware that the ask from the schools is just about all the new money that the town has?
Mr. Reed has alluded to that in our conversations,
Okay,
yes.
so then my question would be, based on that, and that obviously there's other departments that we also have to
Correct.
fund.
Yep.
What I'm saying is, I think it's probably not realistic that that will be the number that you get. So I guess what I want to know is, how does that play out, right? So, you can present a budget and say that this is the increase,
Yep.
but if we can't do it, we can't do it. And it's not even about just, you know, the whole moving things around. There's only so much of the pie.
Understandable.
And when that's the whole pie,
Sure.
it's not realistic, right? So, I mean, what is the plan, or is there a plan yet as to what happens if that does not happen? You know, like, so the things that you listed out, what doesn't happen? And then I'm also interested in, as you answer that question, you know, you weren't really specific about, you know, how you're working to change, like, the perspective of the schools. And obviously, like, I'm aware from living here my whole life, I understand that needs to happen, but I'd be interested also in, you know, so the money is part of it, but then there's the stuff that doesn't cost money to change that perception.
Correct.
And so I'm wondering what the answer is to both those things, but how that works if it isn't the $700,000, because I'm assuming that part of that perception is the $700,000, some of it.
So which question would you like
All
me
of
to
them.
answer
All of them.
first? So there was
many.
multi
But
questions in
they're all
there.
interrelated.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing that I would ask is when you talk about the 700,000 and you know, not pretty much not going to happen or not going to be able to happen, I would ask the council to reflect upon, when you look at all the departments, is how was the school department budgeted. Let's go back the past 5 years, and if you were budgeting all those departments equally, if everybody received the same percentage increase or decrease over the past 5 years, because they have not. When you go back and you compare all of those, the past 5 years, and you look at just the town different departments, and if you kept us in line with the average department increase over the past 5 years, including Pathfinder Vocational, because that is a department within the town. The schools were shorted roughly $1.6 million. If you just gave the average of what everybody else in the department was, all the other departments were given, and I can share that information with you as how we got to that number. So, to go back to some of your questions, that if that $792,000 ask, that 4.5% increase, where there's other departments that are asking more than what I'm asking for, but that's neither here nor there. What doesn't happen? Well, those new positions don't get filled, so there is not a new IT individual, there's not a new HR individual, there's not a new position at Palmer High, which is offsetting the loss of service payrolls for the school department. So those three don't happen, and that's roughly about $120,000 that won't occur. So then I have to come up with another $140,000-ish, $150 that we'll have to trim. Whether or not that is in salaries or whether or not that's in supplies and materials, we'll have to wait and decide. In regards to the perception, I don't think it's all tied to money. I think it is tied to making that our narrative go out. So that's done either through social media, that's word of mouth. That is, we do have a PR company coming in to film a 2.5 minute video for us this spring. That is restarting Palmer Schools Presents on Impact, which we just restarted after an 8-year hiatus. We just started that last month, and they're going to air it within the next week or so. So I don't think it's to your point, I don't think it's a matter of money. I think it's a matter of changing the narrative, like I stated before.
All right, so just, there was one of your slides which had the 0.4, I believe.
The 0.4.
It had like the 3 fiscal year. Yeah. So can you just explain to me what that represents?
It's just
'Cause I'm
going
not-
from, that's the overall expense increase from FY 22 to 23.
Was that that wasn't just town funds though? That was
No, that was
everything.
overall.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to be
Overall.
I just want to be clear
Yep.
on that.
Where did the increase come from?
That's just overall district expenses. So that is all, yeah, that's the entire budget. That's just showing the increase between the years.
So of all the departments that we have to fund that weren't,
I'm sorry?
so all the departments that we have to fund,
Yeah.
that the school wasn't in line with,
Yeah.
which one should we not fund? How do we cut them?
Right. I mean, it is a balance. Like,
Sure.
and
I
it's
agree
hard
that-
for us as counselors every year to people in the town that say, "Hey, where's all our money go?" Well, 50% of
and
the
that's
budget
not my-
goes to the
yeah.
schools.
More
Yeah.
than 50%.
Yeah, over 50%.
To be respectful,
70.
that I can't answer that question because that's not my job.
No,
My
no, yeah.
job is to present the school district budget.
Right.
I think that one of the hard things, though, is, everybody looks at their individual budgets, and you should fight for every dime, and that's your job, and I get that. But I think that, unfortunately, it's all those costs that we like to call unclassified, right? So retirement costs that are very, are high, property and casualty insurance, like all those things that do have a direct effect, health insurance, that have a direct effect on the school budget also, but are not part of the school budget. So, when you start to, take the figure of the new money we have, and then you just take those off the top, right? Because they're fixed costs, so you got to pay them. And then what's left over, and then what's left over is what gets divvied out between the departments. So everyone's not even fighting for whether it's $800,000 or $900,000, because that number, when you take all that other stuff off that you have to pay, then you're starting somewhere well below that. So I guess that's why I brought up that it's probably very unrealistic that it would be the 700,000, only because it just doesn't exist when you take out those other things. It's not about not wanting to give it. It's just it's not there. And then as far as I had looked at the numbers for the increase in Chapter 70 last year, or fiscal 24 to proposed governor's number, 35,000.
Correct.
Nothing, right? And then the increase of sending tuition between school choice and charter, almost $91,000. So now we're in the hole just before we even start. So how does that equate to what you started saying, as far as like the percentage of low income went up 20%? There's no effect on that in our Chapter 70 numbers when the makeup of the town shifts?
Oh, I mean, some of that is with SOA funds, and the majority of it is through your entitlement grants.
So are we getting a lot more in grant money?
You're
because
getting,
of that?
I mean, within FY, like I had said to Mr. Kachi, from FY 24 to 25, your Title I went up roughly $120,000.
But see, that's why I don't understand this slide then, because if that all goes up, why is the increase of 24 to 25 only 91,000?
Those are the FY 24, so we get our entitlement grants. We get those in December.
Okay.
So you apply for them, you get them in December of the year.
Yep.
You're not going to use them all in FY 24. So there's a carryover, for a lack of better terms. So you can't commit all of that money, because going into FY 25, you don't necessarily know what you're getting in your entitlement for FY 26.
No, I understand, but if fiscal 24 to 25 is only 91,000, and you said that was all money.
That's expenses, not revenues.
Expenses, yeah. So their expenses have come down, is what that's showing us.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I was thinking it was revenues. Thank you.
I was too.
Because I was like, that doesn't make sense to me.
If you don't have your glasses.
Thank you.
I have an excuse.
Okay. Okay. Did anybody else have questions?
I have one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We had speculated about sharing IT. The one person that was in your budget to be added, was that going to accomplish that, or would you need another person?
Well, like we had talked, Mr. Reed.
Bob would be fine.
And in regards to partnerships, so this is another, partnership that we have talked throughout the school year. Just recently, our director of technology came over from the school department, I think, to Town Hall to assess the Wi-Fi and internet. In one of the meetings I was having with Mr. Reed, he was talking about his inability to get Wi-Fi down in his office. So that's another one of those partnerships where I sent the director of technology down to spend the day to assess how they are for internet and Wi-Fi down here. I think it would be worthy of a conversation. I think it could most likely help both entities.
And just one little clarification, you mentioned earlier, speaking of shared services, about assuming town payroll,
Yes.
which it's turned out to be, it's worked well from what I understand, and we love having her here, but we are sharing costs, and we are providing her an office. I just want to point that out.
That is correct. That is correct. Whether or not services are lost, that's for a discussion for another time, but
We'll talk.
we'll discuss.
Well, maybe HR is another function to throw in there as a
Shared
shared
service.
service between
I think
the
it's
two.
worthy of a conversation as well.
She is helping with the HR.
That's what I'm saying. You already got half a person.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't go too quick for it, did I?
No, just send me,
What's that?
send me.
All right.
Do you have anything else to present?
Not tonight, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know if I walked out or not.
Oh, town budget now.
You don't have to do it now. Oh, you don't have to shut it, don't shut it down.
Don't shut it down?
Don't shut it down.
My bank account only had these numbers.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the fiscal '25 draft municipal budget. Bob, anything you want to talk about?
Well, I forwarded the draft according to the charter. It's pretty basic as far as revenues and expenses. Gabriella has been great in helping to put this together. Obviously, there are still some things that need to be sorted out, some big ticket items, the schools. We don't have a definite quote yet on our property and liability insurance. We're still in negotiations about health insurance. So there are still some pieces of the puzzle that we hope to have answered fairly quickly as far as those fixed costs that were mentioned. I hope this is helpful. I know it's going to the budget subcommittee where we'll get into the details. Certainly, if you have any questions about this, I'll be happy to answer them.
So on this, on the, like the IT, information technology and support, that's just still the way it is today. That's not us. We haven't really flushed out.
Right,
shared
that's
service, stuff like
staying with
that.
NetLogix. Yeah.
When is that contract renewal? I'm sorry. Do we know?
Year to year.
Yeah.
It's year to year? Okay.
Really? Okay. Sorry.
All right, so I would say, as in the past, as you're going through the budget, if you have any specific questions or concerns, send them to the subcommittee so that we can address them.
So Bob, I had a couple
Oh, I'm
questions.
sorry,
Is that
go
okay?
ahead. Yeah.
So Bob, 543, the veterans agent, is this the position looking to be changed full-time?
She is looking for additional hours, yeah.
I think that's all I had for now, until we dig into the,
Okay.
you guys,
So I did ask Gabriella to give us the detail to those numbers. So she's going to get copies. She's going to do revenues to us so that we can, and she'll let Bob know so we can come pick them up. And then we should schedule a meeting.
Revenues were in Bob's email. He has the list in
I
there.
think she meant
Detailed.
more
Oh,
detailed.
detailed.
Yeah.
The Munis ones.
The detail of
No,
what
I-
makes up the local receipts. and-
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll have a forecast.
I don't know. Maybe.
They're working on it. She expects her assistant to hire soon, so she'll have some time to put into it.
April 1st.
I'm available to help.
Okay, so next,
just write it off as like a training thing.
next agenda item is the appointment of a counselor to the Palmer Rail Stop Steering Committee. So I had received a email last week, I believe it was, from Heidi, the town planner, letting us know that they are looking to put together 10 or less representatives from Palmer. And so, hold on one second as we. So the committee will include Andy Kojal, the West East Rail Director, someone from VHB, and a few other Mass DOT representatives. They're looking to include the planner, the DPW Director, regional planning staff, economic development staff, representation from a transit authority. So at this point in time, the members of the committee, so this was again last Monday, I believe, it includes Heidi, Matt Morse, Mike Marciniak, John Latour, Dana Roscoe, Ben Hood, and then she was waiting on a few others, and she's looking for someone from the council if anyone's interested.
I'm
So is this
interested.
different than the other steering committee that we had?
It's the Palmer Rail Stop Steering Committee,
Sounds
so
like they
I would
just
say,
repurposed.
I say different name, but,
Okay.
yeah. So Carl raised his hand that he's interested. Anybody else interested? Okay, everybody good? Okay, so Carl, I will let her know that you will be the rep, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. Next is a discussion regarding ARPA funds. Bob?
As you know, we are expected to have ARPA funds committed by the end of this December and then spent 2 years after that. The balance that we have available is just under $1.5 million. I understand from the accountant and the treasurer, they're working on just discerning how much interest we've gotten on this recently, and we expect the number to be at about $1.5 million or a little bit over. There are, as you know, a number of different things that you can do with it. I've sent some suggestions. One program that's been talked about for some time is paving at the school parking lot. There's another project at Legion Field, which I've heard a number of good things about, the combination pickleball court and basketball court, and I guess it can be flooded in the wintertime and provide skating. That all told, I think you have the paving estimate there of $50,000. I understand from Matthew that all told, that's about $75,000. The gentleman who was here earlier speaking about Forest Lake, and I know I've sent you some information about that project that I've gotten from the Bondsville Water District. I think I made it clear to the developer who works with this gentleman that we need a bit more information on how that project is going to work. As you know, one of the things that they're looking for at this point for that project is the use of ARPA funds. So there's an issue there with the use of ARPA funds, but also you're under time constraints. I don't know if the ARPA funds went to the Bondsville project when they'd be able to spend it, or we don't have any information on additional funding sources that are going to be leveraged besides town funds. So there's still a lot of information necessary. What's going to happen with the water tank, for example, for that project to work, and how is it going to get water? But you are under some time constraints. For example, if the money was going to be used for the school parking lot, we should be going out to bid soon, so we would be able to do that over the summer. So right now, it's just a matter of what projects you have in mind and what you want to fund. And again, just getting back to the school parking lot, if you were to put money towards that, then that would pretty much take care of the Bondsville suggestion or recommendation for town funds, because the estimate on that, and I don't think you need to appropriate all of it, at least you'd be able to get a start, is $1.5 million, which would just about wipe out your ARPA funds. You won't really know until you go out to bid.
One question can I ask about the housing there? He stated they're going to be seasonal, so they won't live there the whole year round?
3 season is what I heard.
I never heard. So
Spring, summer, fall, and then they'll shut everything down.
that's why I asked, is there 2 bedrooms to them because of the price he quoted? I could be wrong, but a seasonal, for someone to afford a seasonal house, they have to have a lot of money to spend $350 to $400. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that sound reasonable?
It's up to him. It says money to
I
spend.
know, but
I think it's if they know that there's a market for people who want a lake house and there's a market for them, they know that they will pay $350,000 to $400,000 for that. I think that's, and I mean,
Seems
if
like
you
a
look at
lot to
housing
me.
prices now,
Oh, they're ridiculous.
350 is not much for a house.
I think we should have at least Bondsville Water District and the developer come and speak to us about what their collaboration is.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Mark. I think that ARPA is probably out of the question given the time constraints that we have.
Sure, but we
But
should
I
talk
think,
to them anyways.
yeah, I think that there's been a lot of very high level discussion brought to the council as far as what this project needs, what the Bondsville Water District might be asking for, and it just feels like we haven't seen any solid proposal or plans, and that's where I'm like,
Thorndike really out.
I'm not.
Is Thorndike Water District really out and doesn't
Right.
want
I
anything to
think
do
that's
with
I think that's one of the challenges of having this type of these water districts being so divested and on their own is that there's there's really no expectation that we can hold them to come to us with plans and proposals. So I would just say, like, if I'm happy to have a conversation about it, but I would not tonight, definitely not going to support
No,
any
that's not what
funding
I'm saying.
for it.
But it's still a black hole, and, if the developer's here, I don't know why the water district wouldn't be here.
Tonight,
Be
you mean?
awesome if it came in.
No, so.
Oh, no, at any
Oh.
point in time.
Oh, yeah, but I think that this is something that Brad's gonna need to hit the ground running on. I mean, Ryan had discussions with them.
And the
I think-
railroad and,
Well, I just think he needs to come up to speed pretty quickly on that, figure out what needs to be done, and then move forward. It just doesn't make sense that Bob
No.
is involved in that when he's gonna be leaving in a
No,
few
no,
weeks.
that's not what I'm
Oh, no.
suggesting.
No, I know, but,
I think these discussions have been going on long before Bob got here.
Right,
So
Even
it's
by the tank
just,
yet, Bob?
okay.
You're correct in saying that, it has been going on for quite a while, and the separations of the districts doesn't help. I know I
not at
attended a
all.
meeting at the Bondsville one, and actually, I guess I'd be the one that antagonized and asked this gentleman, because he called me, I said, well, go, what you need to do is go talk to the council, and so I guess I'm the antagonizer on trying to get everybody together. And I agree with you. At one point, I was like, okay, great, let's help them with this, with the ARPA's money and stuff. But logically, I can clearly see that the time constraints and stuff, it's not gonna. But in saying all of this, I think that, like you said, with the new town manager going forward, this inviting him to come and speak was to try and break the ice and get everybody together on the same page. And, because I do believe it's a good project, benefit the town. And I also agree that for someone to just come and, like, how's a kid, hey, Dad, I need $100. Well, what do you need it for? What's the plan? He's not just going to fork it out. And so I would definitely love to see that moving forward, like you said, Brad, and we get together as a town. And I think sometimes it really rubs me the wrong way that we still have these village mentalities of, back in the day when I was a young lad, yes, every village had its own barbershop, this and that, and all of this stuff from Diamond National has gone to the wayside. And I truly believe that these water departments need to come together somehow, some way, and, move probably a whole lot more different projects moving forward.
The issue with the ARPA funds is without knowing, like, a clear plan, like, I don't know if the project's been engineered, designed, that takes time. I confirmed a couple weeks ago, on a call that if that money does not get spent after December 31st, whatever you allocate is what it has to be used for. and you can't in February or March say, you know what, this project's not gonna work and reallocate it.
Right.
The answer I got is you lose it. And that's a lot of money to lose.
Oh, I absolutely
With a lot
agree
of
with you.
questions, so,
So, Bob, you
Yeah.
mentioned the pickleball basketball court at Converse. Could any of that be used towards any of the, and we really haven't seen it yet, but some of the plan that Andrew spoke to of Converse,
Burley?
Burley, yeah, sorry. Like facilities or, you know, I don't know, stuff like that.
Probably. I mean, I think the pretty broad uses of ARPA. I
I
guess
don't know
it
if you
just,
guys had like kicked that around at all.
I think the real issue is if we have a large project, that it makes sense just to fund that project and be done with the ARPA funds.
Yeah, I mean, toilets
As
has
opposed
gotta be
to-
about 1.5.
And I think it's like 6 in one, half a dozen the other. This project, the parking lot project, was something that we were going to fund last year. So if we fund it with ARPA now, that money that we were going to fund last year for this paving project will still be available, and we can use it for something else like the pickleball courts.
Right. Well, and I think it was either a 2 or 3 year project to do the parking lot. It was definitely not 1 year. I
Yeah,
just can't remember if it was 2
The
or
entire
3.
I think it was
parking-
2 years.
Old Mill Pond and Puck Pad,
The
right?
whole
They
thing.
had
The whole
it,
thing,
yes.
all of it.
But I
They
think
had it broken down in phases, did they not?
They did. I
I
just
thought
can't
that-
remember if it was 2
I don't
or
have my
3.
glasses, so
I
I'd
think it
look it
was-
up.
I
But
thought it
yeah,
was 2 years, and I thought that they were going to do some of it over like certain vacations.
It was supposed to be last summer, except it was not because of the traffic.
Track
Track,
projects,
right.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so, we have to meet again to, I mean, what's the thought process? Are you looking to do just, like, spend whatever we can spend it on to get the parking lot done? Or are we looking at a few projects, or, so, I mean, I
I
think
think the
that the,
parking lot's a priority.
yeah.
Well, I guess my question now is, what if we spend it all on the parking lot? Would it still be considered a 2-year phased project, or would it just be all done this summer?
I don't see how it can all be done at the same, well, maybe it could, I mean, if they,
I think a large reason that it was being phased was to, it might have needed money in stages, but also to work around time availability with classes. But I think my understanding from Matthew, of course, depending on if and when the money gets approved and he has time to put it out to bid, is that it could be spent in one season.
Yeah, I don't,
75K for the whole project.
No,
Well, I'm talking about the parking lot, sorry.
1.5
wasn't
million.
That was the parking lot,
Parking
1.5?
lot.
And don't we, that's everything we have is 1.5 million, right?
yeah,
Pre-buy the
I
asphalt.
thought it was the parking lot and the pickleball courts and whatever, the two projects combined, I thought were,
The pickleball court would be a separate project.
I think we need to
I
have,
know they're separate projects, but I'm saying that the dollar amount, I thought, for,
No.
Well, the estimate you have for the pickleball and the basketball court is 50, but that's just the paving. So for everything else, to outfit it, whatever equipment, lines, painting, Matthew is saying 75,000 is a safe figure. And then the remainder would be, well, depending, I mean, you may have other things you want, whatever is available then could go to the parking lot, but you really won't know how far that money is going to go until it goes out to bid.
I think that we know we need to meet again anyway, because we have to finalize the contract with the town manager. Which looks like it probably would be next week one day.
Wait,
But-
I thought we were doing that tonight.
We're not, I'll explain when we
Okay.
get to exec. What if you could discuss with the superintendent whether he feels that the parking lot could all be done in 1 year based on what they have going on at the school over the summer. Okay, and so that would be the first part of what we need. And then maybe what we do is, I think the pickleball court was a priority or it has been, we've talked about it for years. Maybe based on the answer we get on the parking lot, maybe we go out to bid for the pickleball court, and then we go out to bid for the parking lot, and we see where that brings us, and make decisions based on that. Okay?
We haven't seen all the capital plan yet.
We haven't
so-
done- no.
Right, so we don't know what's a priority and what's not a priority,
the-
but I'm thinking that could possibly come from free cash.
And I think, is the capital plan, is it part of developing the capital plan is determining what we are doing with the ARPA funds so the capital plan can be prioritized?
Well,
I
no,
think
because
that
it
was
sounds
the
like
goal.
if we do the parking lot, that wipes out the entire balance of the ARPA, and then it won't be a factor in capital.
It would be, well,
Well, I think that, making a decision on ARPA would help with the capital plan. I mean, it would at least remove those projects from consideration.
Got it.
and
I see
put-
what you mean now. So yes, I agree. Then we should get a finalized bid. Then
Yep, I agree.
yes,
and then just move forward.
and
with
just
those
move
two
forward.
things.
Yep.
How
Yep.
long does that take? Like a month, 2 months?
To,
2 months?
to get a bid,
The bid?
Like,
To get real numbers.
45 to 60 days probably, would you say?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll talk to Matthew.
So what were the numbers that we were given?
The 75 and the
I
1.5.
think those were back,
Well,
back
it was
of
all-
the napkin.
As I recall, the paving was all broken down into different phases with dollar amounts.
From
so
last year,
No, in Bob's email that he sent us, he
Right.
broke it all down. Palmer Paving.
that was, the bid date is 6/30/2023. So
There you
I'm
go.
assuming
So that was
those are old bid numbers.
Gotcha.
I think that might have been based on last year's capital plan.
That might have been what we stashed into stabilization because we needed more information.
No, that wasn't last year, that was the year before. All right, so I think if Bob can get us, find out from
Okay.
the superintendent what his thoughts are of the paving. I mean, there's only one way into that parking lot.
Should probably see how much money we stashed into stabilization that was really free cash that was supposed to be going to capital projects.
Okay, so let's have that on the agenda for when we meet.
Okay.
Okay? And if it's gonna be the pickleball courts and the parking lot, it should just be on the agenda that those are the two things we're gonna talk about, so there's no confusion as to what we're talking about.
Did I hear that right? 50,000 for the pickleball court?
That's just the paving.
Paving only. 75 for
In
the rest.
the old high school, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where we're gonna put it?
Mhm.
Is the pavement that bad in there? Because
It
you
hasn't
just,
been used for years, I don't think.
I don't either. That's
I think it's all
seems a
overgrown to my
lot.
knowledge. It's at the end of Central Street, isn't
Yeah,
it? You go all the way down Central Street and it's
played
right there,
around
back
tennis
way?
there.
It's like, you know where the bathrooms are at Converse?
Yeah.
It's like right to the, if you were at the bathrooms,
it's
it's
like
gonna
a
be right in
playground.
front
Right
of
by
you.
the playground.
Yeah, the old tennis courts.
yeah.
I think it's at the end of Central Street. If you go all the way down across through the church.
That's not Central
Right
Street.
by
What
the-
is that?
Is that
No,
Walnut? Or,
something.
No.
oh, it's a tree.
One
I
of
don't
them.
know.
But yes, you're right. But if you go all the way down there, you get to the back side of the courts, and there's there are
Where the
courts there. Yeah,
swimming pool was and all that
yeah,
stuff.
that is Central. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all
Flooded
right.
right now, not for skating.
But not frozen, right?
Got it.
Okay, so we'll deal with that at the next meeting.
Sure.
Okay. So, there is no item F right now. And, all right, let's go back to meeting minutes. So September 18th, 2023. So, I just had a few comments on all the minutes, and I don't know if we want to vote them or just have them fixed, and then it seems that some of the items, if we go back and look at these years from now, we're not gonna have any idea what we were actually doing. So for instance, on the September 18th minutes, the Converse reuse costs, like, I think that some of the costs should be memorialized as to what this, it doesn't have to be in great detail, but there was some specific numbers that were thrown out of the cost of renovating the building. So I think that should be included. And then there was a citizen petition. think in the same minutes.
For amendment to zoning. for
Right.
Additional cannabis retail.
Right, but I think it should spell out just in a little more detail what exactly the citizen petition was asking for. And then miscellaneous correspondence. That was just a typo, I can tell you later. But same thing, like if we go to the next ones, I just think that there was a lot of things that were abbreviated with initials that should be spelled out. So like years from now, people know what those initials mean.
I agree.
And then on the roll call votes, Marlene, like you have to actually show, like.
Write
that
out the name.
That you have to write the name and then they have to, it's like Beberry, yes, and Kachi, yes. Like you have, so anytime there's a roll call, it has to show the actual vote. Same thing like when we vote to go back into open session. Okay? And the initials I'm talking about,
TC and TM review.
that's part of it. That's in the meeting minutes of the 10/16, but then there was some other. So like when it says wastewater loan authorization, 2 million, public hearing and second reading, like I think it should say like, what is that $2 million getting? Like, why are we doing it? What's $2 million for? You follow what I'm saying? Because we're not gonna remember.
Right.
So that's, it's really like a little bit in all three sets of the minutes. So, do you want to just wait and she can fix them for next time?
Yep.
Okay. If you have questions, like just ask, call me or whatever and I can give you specifics, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next on the agenda is subcommittee reports. Anybody?
Nope.
Miscellaneous correspondence, anyone? Counselors Roundtable? Anybody?
I don't have anything.
I want to congratulate this gentleman on his award he got the other night from the senator and Smola.
From Smola and Oliveira?
Yeah.
Yep, so that
Very
was
nice.
a resolution for the Chamber, Three Rivers Chamber of Commerce, for their 100 years of supporting the community. So,
Very nice.
yeah, it was awesome. Over 100 years. It's been a long time, yeah.
Wow, cool.
Matt's been the president for 90.
No.
He's getting tired.
95.
Should we go into exec just to let them know what's going on with the contract?
Okay.
Okay. But you don't need to go in for any of the other ones. Anybody else?
Nope.
All right, so we're gonna go into executive session so item A, we do not need to go into executive session. We're gonna go in under B, which is Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, town manager contract. We will not be going in for item C. We will not be returning to open session, so we'll be adjourning from executive session.
Make a motion.
Motion by Jess, second
Second.
by Carl. Roll call vote to go in. Matt?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Thank you. Good night.